the podcast for geeks. Today's episode will be about Dungeons and Dragons. I have three lovely ladies joining me. Finally, we got this one together. I think it took us about 2 months. You might occasionally hear my kid in the background. She's running around out there still. She's normally not here for this part of it. So, thanks for being on the show, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thanks for having us, Alan.
I think all three of you guys are bigger Dungeons and Dragons players than I am. I believe you guys. Some of you guys have 2 games a week.
Yes.
I'm playing too many games. I have 3.
So
I have had 4.
Not each week, but
the thing I remember, I knew Priscilla was a big gamer. Was we all try to do a Discord Dungeons and Dragons, and the amount of information you were just dropping into that thread, I was just like every single thing I had to go like look up and be like, what is she even talking about right now? But then I was like, why do we have this like advanced level gamer in here while the rest of us are like, do I roll dice for this?
So I'm playing with all level. So.
Yeah, you guys. I mean, let's talk about the first time you guys played. That's what I was going to start with. Whoever wants to go first, I will not go first.
Yeah, the first time I started playing D&D was after I started listening to a podcast called The Adventure Zone. It was run by the McElroy brothers, and I think we all know it. Yeah. And I got in on the ground floor at the 3rd episode. One of my friends had described it to me as 3 brothers and their dad plays D&D. And I'm like, well, that sounds awesome. I want to listen to this. And I remember at work just listening to the episodes over and over again because I had to wait the weeks for the new episodes to come out. And so I wanted to play D&D more and more with each listen. And finally, a group of coworkers at Floyd had set up a D&D campaign. And I was able to join as a half-orc. What was it? I think it was a Warblade, like kind of a barbarian class. And I had so much fun. And I didn't know what I was doing, so I chose an easy class, so I didn't have to, cast magic or anything. But, I had a great time. I beheaded a dragon with 1 hit because I rolled a nat 20. I got to duel an orc and lead a band of goblins, and this was just like within my first 10 play sessions. And shortly after I moved away from Atlanta, so I didn't get to continue that. But it was a really good introduction into D&D, but it was definitely listening to other podcasts that got me into it in the first place.
How about you, Elaine?
Priscilla first.
Oh, go ahead, Priscilla. Knock yourself
out. Are we talking D&D specifically, or tabletop games?
You could talk about role-playing games. I mean, I didn't start with D&D. I started with Rifts, so...
Yeah, nice. My first tabletop game was Exalted in college. Friends, I had known about tabletop games for a while, but there was never, I had a bunch of vampire books and Changeling and stuff, like Old World Darkness. But there was never anyone who would run it, and I didn't have the confidence to try and run it myself. But I actually got to play in college with Exalted, which is another game by White Wolf, now by Onyx Path. And a friend of mine described it as basically like anime plus wuxia, and it's just kind of like old myths. So it's like Hercules and that sort of thing, just all mixed together. And it was over the top and really gonzo and fun and awesome. So I started playing with them, and that kind of got me into tabletop games in general. And then my first D&D was at work. I was actually working at White Wolf at that time, CCP, and someone started running a game and invited me into it, and that was 4th edition at that time. So I think I played a couple of different ones. I don't entirely remember what they were now. One of them was probably a druid, because I remember shapeshifting a bunch.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's been lulls and bouts of hectic activity. I got back into 5th because of watching Crit Role, as probably a lot of people did.
Yeah, exactly.
Started running a couple of games, and then and then I fell off and started playing some, and yeah. This is actually the first 5th edition character I played, actually. Not art by me, but art by Carrie Leonard.
I remember she's posting
her husband's game. Yep.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, they sound like they run a pretty fun game.
Yeah. Definitely.
What about you, Elaine?
So my intro to D&D actually came in the form of someone asking me if I could draw their party. And I was like, "Oh, tell me more about your game," because similarly, I had started to get really into the podcast side of things, and because I was so eager to hear about it, I got invited to the table, and
Oh, nice.
eventually, I ended up just going with the most basic character I possibly could make, which was a half-elf fighter, in an attempt to use a posh accent with a really low intelligence. Just use like Adventure League stat rolls to make it really easy in case she ended up transitioning. But that game's been going on for almost 4 years now, and
Dang.
and she still hasn't died, so I'm still a half-elf fighter.
That's incredible.
I mean, that's awesome if you can
What
play
level
for
did they
that
start
long.
and go to?
Level 1.
Okay, and where are you at now?
We're like level 11.
Oh,
That's still, you know, like
Okay,
I've
that's
When we were
played
good,
games with
yeah.
friends where I'm just like my characters have died. I guess
Yeah.
I should say I've played with DMs who have I've had that, you know, a mixed bag of DMs. I've gone from like the super strict, I'm going to do everything I can to make it as hard as possible for you if you didn't learn the rules too effing bad, to the super nice where they just will bend the rules in the middle of the game just to be like, I'm not. And I say the same thing when I just started DMing myself this year for the first time, and I always say this to my friends. I'm like, I'm not trying to kill you. Like, I want you to have a good time. If you're having a miserable time playing this game, then it's going to be zero fun for everybody else, including yourself. So, like, yeah, I'm going to throw things at you because it's fun. That's my job. But I'm not trying to kill you. If you do something dumb and die, I'm going to try to see if somebody can bring you back. But things happen. That's how the game is played, right?
Yeah.
I can't constantly just be like, you're healed, you're good, let's keep going. Sometimes you
Well,
just, sometimes you don't like the character. Like I've got a campaign with a friend. I could tell he wants to switch his character. He's new to it too, and he created this character, and he's half in and half out, and he's a little bit like, I like it, but it's a little difficult. I don't like it. I might want. I was like, dude, change your character. I don't care. Like, we'll drop you into the campaign with a new character. It'll be as if nothing's changed. Don't, you know, if you're gonna stress it out, then. And also, if you're spending your week trying to figure out how to play your character because it's so complex, then you've done. I remember. So my first D&D was. I remember in high school, my friends were always talking about it, and I had a friend invite me to, like, a gaming. They had a game club. Go figure. I was in a gaming club, right?
Of course.
And I remember they tried to get. I started out playing Rifts, which, if you guys remember, that was all like mechs and then macros, and I was into Robotech, so I was like, this is kind of cool, but not really what I want to do. But I was really into painting sculpts, so I was painting miniatures all the time, just for kicks, and kind of like what Elaine did, where she was drawing people's characters, or I started painting people's minis for them, and they would use those in their games. And then I sat in on my friend Rick, who's like one of my oldest friends. This dude taught me like D&D, taught me magic, all the stuff, and I sat in on some games with him and his friends, and they were like pro level. Like, you know, they had the grid out on the table with the little characters running around, and they were like rolling for everything. They were playing 3rd edition, I believe. They started
Math
on like,
edition.
yeah. So like I watched this game and I was like, this seems fun, but a little too complex for. I'm not a math guy. I'm sorry. I'm probably one of the few Indians who sucks at math. But then I started kind of getting back into it, but again, it's really hard to play 3rd edition. But then I started watching Critical Role, like a lot of people did, and I thought this seems different and fun. And then I realized there was a 5th edition, which was specifically created for fun. Like, it wasn't supposed to be so complex. And then I got the books willy nilly, and I started just reading into the books and watching more of the show. And then I thought, I want to run my own campaign because I'm always a player. I'm never the DM. But getting people to play a game that seems too nerdy for them, you know, it's a really difficult thing. Unless, I mean, let's put it this way: it's really easy to get a bunch of artists to play because we just all want to live in a fantasy world all day.
Yeah.
But a lot of my friends are, you know, like engineers and doctors and scientists and stuff, and you're like, come play this game where you have to live in this magical world with me and use your imagination all day, you know, and not being able to physically sit at a table with friends has been a little difficult. But I convinced them to play. I've run 2 campaigns, and I convinced them to play, and they seemed to like it, you know. One friend of mine didn't. I like how your cat just entered the room.
I know, yeah.
And now
And
it's
then
got
that
the glowing
glowing
eyes.
eye.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is that?
Sorry, that my little demon spirit is.
I mean, I love the fact that you trained your cat to open doors and just come in.
There you go.
That's-
It's like,
that's her-
hello, I'm here now.
It's her familiar.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I had a friend who I could tell was not enjoying the game, and he eventually just bowed out. And I felt bad that he was leaving, but at the same time, I was like, I get it, man. If you're not enjoying it, I'm not gonna force you to play it. But the other 3 stayed with me, and then one of my friend's brothers joined up, and so we've been playing. We try every Thursday. It's just difficult to get 5 people together on a Thursday night on a Discord. You know, we play on a
Scheduling adults.
yeah, scheduling with adults is super tough, and you know we're playing late at night. We try to aim for 9 o'clock at night, but if we even miss that mark by like 30 minutes, we're like, do we still want to start? Because there goes the cat again. No, it's fine. It's
No,
it's-
No,
oh
no.
no, he just disappeared.
I'm fascinated to see how it gets out when it gets in.
I was trying to think like, so do you guys either any of you guys DM at all, or are you guys all just players?
I've
Yeah, no,
DM'd
I.
like a year and a half. Yeah.
You have DM'd for like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
What did you DM?
I ran a game for some friends that was basically in like fantasy Egypt, kind of using the setting of Kabul Press, the Southlands, and it was kind of that mixed and matched with Farron, and then also using a really heavily modified Tomb of Annihilation. So it started off in like Egypt, and they traveled to Chult eventually at like level 8 or 7.
Ooh. They got to enter Chult a little bit higher leveled.
Yeah. So,
That's
because I wanted to do a bunch of like desert Egyptian flavored adventures first.
Yeah.
I think my style was generally to take pre-written modules and then just like use the maps and then modify the adventure in a lot of ways. Just because like I'm pretty good at winging the story side of things, but encounters and trap designs and stuff I don't really have a huge interest in, and putting that together. So using pre-written stuff was good for that.
That's the problem. I've been like using the pre-written. I talked to Elaine about this. I've been playing the Lost Mines of Phandelver to start, just to be like, here's something easy, and I'll start with it.
Mhm.
But then as I'm playing it, I'm like, this is so basic for
Mhm.
me, and I get it, you know. But I'm like trying to sprinkle in my own little thing in the middle of it,
Mhm.
just to try to spice it up. Because I'm like, I feel like I'm moving this game along where it's like part story, but lots of fighting, and then it's just like,
Yeah,
this can't be fun.
there's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it can't be fun if that's all you're doing. But I kind of get what they're trying to do is get the players used to turn-based and then rolls and stuff like that. And I'm trying to move them into. I got the Waterdeep campaign and I got the Icewind Dale campaign, but then everyone keeps saying the Icewind Dale one sucks, and I'm like, can I just enjoy the thing? Like, it might not be that bad.
Yeah.
But I'm trying. I guess my point is I'm trying to figure out how to be like, you look at like someone like Matt Mercer and you're like, he's having a good all his friends are having a fantastic time playing what he set up. There isn't a minute where they're just like, this part sucks. I mean, you have something to say?
I mean,
Ellen?
like, every table is going to have a little bit of a different dynamic. I mean,
Mhm.
even just games that I've played, depending on the DM style, some DMs focus a little bit more on rules and how that can move your character forward and how ways that you can find the flexibility there. Or some of us like who do go really deep into the role playing, which is really fun. But it's not everyone's going to be a professional theater kid. At the table,
Yeah.
and that's fine.
Or want to be one.
Yeah, or want to be one. And yeah, if you want to have your more stoic character, or if you just want to even display a character voice that's just not your regular voice by just dropping it or heightening it. I mean, not everyone's gonna come out with a flamboyant peacocky style.
Yeah, I've been
I like that. Brian. Thanks for
I've been
joining
like toying with the idea of character voices, and I've kind of
Mm.
hinted at my friends to like go ahead and come up with a voice if you want to, but I don't put any pressure on people to do that move.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
I have
I like-
played with DMs who do voices for everything, which is
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
I
honestly,
like doing it just because it's fun to play around with vocal quality, I find.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I like to do that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like-
there's
DMs like
one
that fun.
character that I play that's just like this really crazy young tiefling that has this like
Mm.
really high. It's like I think I want to do like it's just like very. It's almost annoying, but she's so creepy that's just really funny. And I like playing with other players who can do character voices or want to,
Mhm.
but it just adds so much more flavor when the DM does it. I've seen ones do it and not do it. It's fine either way, but I just think it's more immersive when you have like
Yeah.
really fun character voices.
Mhm.
And,
Also, I mean, some DMs are also good at still conveying the feeling and like the mood without like doing the acting without
Yeah.
necessarily doing the voice. So, I mean, either way, I find actually it helps in terms of playing character to have a voice because then it's a little bit clearer when you're talking in character versus when
Yeah.
you're talking out.
Yeah.
Went out. Exactly. Yeah.
And also I feel like as a player, whenever a DM did a voice, it got me a little more excited because I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a cool voice. This is a cool voice. Like I remember I played with a DM who did a voice that kept reminding me of the characters from Voltron, like the new Netflix. I think he just watched each of those characters and was like, this voice will be my merchant, and this voice will be
Yeah.
this NPC. And
it's a really good.
because
way
I
to do
remember he
it.
was talking, I'm like, you sound just like this character from Voltron. And I made him look it up to listen to the actor, you know, and he was like, oh yeah. But I also, it was funny because his girlfriend was like, oh, he sits there and records his voice for each character, and then he
Oh,
goes back
wow.
later and
Yeah.
plays the voice over and over. And I thought that's a cool idea. Like,
I was gonna say that's one of the when you start DMing a really long campaign and you start revisiting NPCs from a while ago,
yeah,
remembering what voice they had
yeah.
is a pain in the ass.
Because
Oh,
I got a friend my friend who taught me back in the day. I remember he would do this voice. Initially sounded Irish or Scottish, and then at some point it started sounding Australian, and then at some point it started sounding like Icelandic. I'm like, this
Yeah.
dude's accent keeps changing, so I don't know who you're doing right now. You know?
Accent drift.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty natural transition with an Irish accent.
There
Yeah.
you go. You just like blend over.
I should just have
Right.
Elaine show up and do all the voices. Be like, I got a special guest. She's only here for voices, guys.
Yeah,
But-
from Scottish. you'd be
Go ahead.
I did a joke voice. I'm sorry, Lauren, you haven't spoken for a bit. You go.
I had nothing to say. Please go on.
Oh, how dare you? No, I'm kidding. I had for a campaign that I thought was only going to be, it was Lost Mines of Phandelver, and I thought it was only going to be like 5 sessions. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to do a really terrible, hard to understand accent. And now we're on session 29,
Uh-oh.
and I'm still
Yeah.
sitting there with the French accents, and I'm like,
How'd you
But
get
everyone else
29 out of that? Wow.
oh,
That's-
we expanded the campaign.
Okay.
Mm.
We just
I
kept
did.
going with it. Yeah.
I've been trying to like I said, I've been putting little things in, and just to test the waters. The first, I think I told Priscilla, and I think I told Elaine this story, but for the first time to like mess with them, I randomly threw this peanut butter and jelly selling goblin in town because they were walking around trying to find food, and I thought, I'm gonna put a goblin here that sells only peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and then it was just something stupid, right? I was just like, I just want to be stupid with this, and two of them bought the sandwiches, and I was like, okay. But then I was talking to another friend, and you guys know him, Brian Cullen, and Brian was like, what you should do is have them roll for Constitution, and if they fail, they get sick. And I was like, holy crap, that's brilliant, you know? Like, so then I had these guys rolling while they were in basically a dungeon crawl, and one of them failed, and I had him crap his pants, and then I was like, now you got to play with disadvantage the whole time, and
No.
He
Your
was-
stealth is at disadvantage because you're
Oh, yeah.
staying.
he was pissed, man. And I was just like, can you not be mad and just enjoy the fact that you crapped your pants in the middle? I mean, like, it's funny, man. I just meant to be funny about it, you know? And I've been trying to not do something like that again, but I'm trying to figure out ways to, like, spice it up, I guess, but I guess it comes with practice, right? It comes with
Yeah, it comes with time.
comes with time and practice. You'll eventually like, because I have the group I play Thursday nights with my friends. One of my friends in that group is huge on Critical Role, and he also is a brainiac. So he studied all the rules and he knows all. And I told him to speak up and give me advice if there's something I did that doesn't like I have a bad habit of saying things when I should just not. As a DM, I don't have to tell you everything. And as a DM, I just have to be like, just do, this is what's happening. Like, don't argue with me about it, you know? And I'm trying not to be a dick about it too, right? But he'll be like, you don't have to tell us this, this, and that. You just do the thing. And then we have to react to it, you know? So I was like, oh, I didn't think about it, because I'm too busy trying to be a nice DM. And you don't have to be mean about it, but you also want to leave some of that intrigue, I guess.
A little bit of excitement remaining after.
Yeah. And like you have to give your players flexibility to kind of make the adventure a little bit their own while still controlling the rails of it. So, for example, we're playing a Tomb of Annihilation campaign in Chult. Now it's Saturday. It's actually going to be at 3:30 p.m. and I'm really excited about it. That's nice. But like there was a character who apparently wasn't supposed to be at all significant, but because we made such a big deal out of it as a party and the item that she was after, he integrated her much more into the campaign than he originally was planning to. And he like let it slip like outside of the game. He was like, yeah, that character was supposed to be like a one-off, like quick thing. But y'all just like went for it. So now we're just going for it. And it's become a huge part of the story. And so because of our actions, it makes the players feel like they have some level of, you know, I mean, we have some level of control over the story, but the DM is still kind of crafting that experience for us. But he's basically reading our cues and working off of us to create basically an optimal experience. And it's been amazing. Like this campaign has been one where we will try to attend no matter what. Like we're just like, okay, like we have a meeting right up until like the game starts, but we're gonna try to get in there anyway. It's like, okay, I've moved over to Canada now, so let's move it to Saturday and let's still find a way to play. Like we love it so much because it's very immersive and it's a good group of people first off, but also the DM is really, really good at giving us kind of a story that we can flourish and shine in. And I think that's something else that's also very important for a DM to do is to kind of like look at each character, see where their strengths are, see how you can highlight them in a certain way, and kind of make everybody feel like they're a little bit special. You know, Matt Mercer is particularly good at doing that, obviously, because each character has their moment, they have their dreams. And, you know, in my campaign, he gives us all a chance to interact with each other during night watches and role play. And, you know, we also have dreams and we have things from our past that come back to haunt us. So, you know, one session might be more focused on this character and another session might be more focused on another character, but we're all influencing the story in some way or another. And it just feels really rewarding. So it's definitely something to take as a DM.
That's not a bad idea. In my one campaign, I told my friends to give me their backstories. Like, tell me a little bit about yourselves. I'm not going to make up your characters for you. And they were like, oh, you gave us homework to do. I'm like, yeah, because if I know your backstories, I can help spin a tale to move your character forward in a specific direction. It may be something you like. One of my friends is a warlock, and he needs like an object of power to enhance his abilities. And I said, cool. And he gave me this backstory. So I've been kind of working on a little quest for him and his group to go on to get him said object of power. But I want the other three to write their stories too, so I can see if I can maybe combine them, or maybe I want to do a different one first. But that is a way to do it, you know. And I'm hopefully.
It also really helps to get players engaged a little bit. I mean, I don't think you have to write a multi-page, 24-page story, but like at least a paragraph. That says,
they each just gave me like two. So two of them did their homework so far, and two of them are completely failing at this job. But they gave me a paragraph of information.
To be fair, there are a fair different number of profiles of players. Some people just want to like roll some dice and joke around with their friends, and they're not really interested in the character. I think a lot of it is just finding the right table for that. And there's also other people who want to do that. And it's just when you get people together who don't match that it's tough.
That was the issue. Yeah, that was the issue that I had when I DM'd a campaign. It was a Pokemon D&D campaign, actually.
Yeah.
I played it way too fast and loose with the rules because it was somebody's homebrew, and it was a little bit of a mess, but I had a fun time DMing it. I wish that I had taken from an existing module, but that's here nor there. But the problem is that some of my friends were really, really good at role playing, and others were really kind of anxious about getting involved in role playing and like trying to, make a character, and kind of what each player wanted didn't really mesh with each other. So it was a really difficult balance for me as a DM trying to find a way to get them engaged without having them. What are y'all doing? Sorry, my cats are being ridiculous. Trying to find a way to get them engaged without them being uncomfortable. So that was definitely tricky, and also I had too many people in the campaign. I think at one point I had 7 players, and I think I would limit it to 5 and leave that.
I feel like 5 is a magic number.
Yeah, people kept trying to invite their friends. They're like, "Can I make my boyfriend come?" And then said boyfriend just didn't want to really participate at all. So I'm like, why is he here then? So it became really frustrating for me as a DM, just because it was hard to balance them all, hard to make combat go faster when people didn't really look at and how to play. And it was hard to make a fun experience when people, I was trying to get that person involved by, he was an Eevee in the campaign, and I was like, oh, like I'm tempting him with these evolution stones, but he's not really like taking the bait. And I'm like, it's right there. I'm trying to make an experience for you. Just take it. But you can only control players so much too, is what I realized from DMing that campaign, and you kind of have to let them,
I apologize
make
about
their
the
own
noise
path a little bit. So yeah, it became frustrating sometimes, but I had fun ultimately, and I definitely learned a lot from that experience.
I think to complete the thing, your kid has to wander in here. Because we each had our cats.
Yeah, we had our cats.
Here, hang on a second.
Yeah, yeah.
Lauren had both of her.
Bring her in here for a second.
Oh my gosh, Priscilla is pretty
Right there.
Let's see if she'll come in here for a second.
She likes being held and generally demented at some point.
Violet, you want to say hi?
Yeah, you see my cats just like wandering freely in the background.
No, I like it because they both came from the same side. They were 2 different cats.
Yeah. Well, right now my desk is up in the standing position, so they can't really jump up. So this is how they get in. My desk.
Oh, I see.
They like to go behind and chill in the sunlight. It's really cute.
In regard to anxious players, I think Violet's doing them.
Here you go. She's having a bad day, but we can say hi real quick.
Violet.
Look.
Hi, Violet.
Say hi. Say hi in the middle of the live call, Violet. Come on, baby. Everyone's got their cats apparently.
That's fine. If she's having, Life is tough.
He's cute.
Yeah.
So cute.
Such a pretty baby.
Okay, all right. You're having a bad day. It's all right.
I love her little bow.
We've been
I don't want to be on camera right now. Please, no cameras for me.
You know what? Usually when I'm on a call, she wants to come in here and say hi to everybody, but she's having a bad nap day, so that's just what happens.
Yeah.
I don't have any cats here to show you guys. Sorry, cats are my kryptonite.
I love how we're all D&D and cat moms. Like, that's very funny.
I feel like at some point we're gonna have a cat in the house for her because she loves cats. Just not in this 1-bedroom condo. I was gonna say, you were talking about like the different types of players, and I realized like I've played with, so some of my favorite players are like I've played with a campaign with a friend who she was just rampaging through everything, like, but what was funny was it spoke to her as that's who she is in real life. She just goes at things hard and like will just say what's up and speak her mind and attack right away. And I was like, whoa, slow down. Like at one point we were fighting giant spiders, and I'm like, I was a druid, I remember. I was just in the back like, I don't really want to fight that giant spider, man. Let me just attack from back here. And she went straight at it and like killed it, lifted it up, and threw it at the next spider. And I'm just like, what the fuck just happened? And then I've played with a player who played a bard, and bless you. Bards are always like, I'm always half and half with bards because I don't know how to play them well, I guess. It's a character type I want to try just to see. But he played it.
I love bards.
He made a barbarian bard. A bardbarian.
Yes.
A barbarian.
And
Yes.
it was so fun to watch him play because every time he would use his what is it called? The Bard Inspiration or whatever it was.
Bard Inspiration.
Yeah, he would.
And now there's a new one because of Tasha's. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I haven't seen the new one yet, but every time he would use his abilities and stuff, for that specific ability, he would sing Nickelback, which was so
what our guy does is that he just reinvents existing songs, but renames the title to be more fantasy.
That would be amazing.
So yeah, it's amazing.
But just
I
the first
love-
time he did it, I remember I was sitting there like, is this dude singing Nickelback? You know, and that campaign was fun for me because I created my character in there was a tiefling, but I had embodied a dead sorcerer inside of me. So every time the DM had a trigger that would make me set me off, I would go from, I think it was like chaotic neutral to like chaotic evil or whatever. I'd go super bad and just destroy everything in front of me. And I thought this is a hard character to play for me because I'm not, I'm still learning how to play. And I still had a good time with that campaign. We don't play it as much anymore, but every person that showed up to the table in that campaign had a unique way of playing their characters, which I really enjoyed. Which as a DM, I don't know how to get my current. In one group, it's my one campaign is fine; they're doing great. But the one with my friends, they're having a good. I think they're having a good time. I'm just trying to get them to be a little extra, I guess, which probably starts with me.
People aren't necessarily like that. So.
Yeah, they have to come. They read your example, so they have to come out of their shell a little bit if you're kind of like.
So if I do it a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important to give the players the space to do that as well. Like
Mhm.
you can sometimes you just have to like take that step back and kind of force them to interact with each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And slow down, especially if you have someone who's just a freight truck going through the game and they're like, next scene.
I was going to ask you also I noticed that sometimes when we in both my campaigns they do this where there'll be an encounter and they're like trying to like map it out, like instead of like just fight, like let's say for example like 5 zombies show up, and instead of just saying I'm gonna get this zombie, I'm going at this one, just go, they'll like map out a plan of action, but it'll take them like 15 minutes, and I'm just like, yo, this interaction really is only gonna last you guys less than 30 seconds, and I'm like, move it along because you've spent 15 minutes now fighting the weakest fucking creature here. Like, I remember they fought goblins and that encounter took me like 20 minutes to end. And at the end, I could tell they were all like, that took a minute. And I was just kind of tired from it and they were tired from it. And I was like, well, I lost the spontaneity of it and I lost the fun aspect of it because we were trying to sort out how to kill 3 goblins,
Yeah.
I
I find combats just end up taking a long time regardless for me.
Yeah, that's
Even
true.
when I'm trying to like impose limits to move it along.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like the whole thing of every adventuring day consists of like 2 short, like several small encounters and a big encounter, and like 2 short rests and blah 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 blah. All that. I've never found that to actually pull out and play. It's like one combat, maybe.
So maybe that's
per
a regular
session.
thing then.
Wait, Elaine, what were you gonna say?
Like a
Oh wait, you're muted.
table of
There we go. Sorry.
Oh no, thank you for looking out for me. Especially if you're on a table with a bunch of newbies, and you're a newbie yourself, like it's okay for battle to take a little bit, and it literally just kind of comes from experience for the smoothness to happen
Sure.
in the game. Like,
I guess I was just worried that I
be
was
patient
boring
with
them.
yourself. Like, even if they do get a little tired at first, that doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. Pressure can be on. You can add an ambiance to like kind of intensify the mood with some music, or
And
even just like
honestly, 20 minutes to resolve an encounter sounds really fast to me.
It does sound really fun.
Does it? Okay. I mean, I might be wrong. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself because in my head I was like, I might be boring these guys because this is taking a minute, right? And then the one thing I've been doing is, if they dilly dally too long or they feel like they're not moving it along, I will throw. Sometimes I throw extra enemies at them just to be like, here, have another one.
Elaine.
this is a super important statement. Hey, did you know you're also part of the game, Alan, as the DM, and it's important that you're having fun as well. There's a lot of
Yeah.
pressure on you, but the players have to make sure that you're having fun too. So like,
No, that's a good point,
Don't-
man.
don't like. I mean, yes, keep it engaging and entertaining, but it's a group activity. It's not all just on the DM.
Yeah.
No, that's not a
If
bad
it's
point.
Yeah, if the DM needs a break, then the players hang out, or you trade.
Yeah, it's all very collaborative effort, and that's what I mean by like we immerse ourselves in the game, and like the players and the DM both have the control to pull things the way they can be pulled, but the key thing is that everybody feels like they have some kind of agency as well.
Mm.
And you don't want to lose that agency as a DM, and your players don't want to lose that agency and think they have no control over the outcome of what a game is supposed to be. So it is a balance, but yeah, everybody is in it together. And I think that's where the most special campaigns come from, is because we're all interacting in some kind of way. And those are always my best campaigns. And this, Tomb of Annihilation campaign feels like that because we have a player character who is an agent of chaos, and she will derail the DM with one action. Like, I think there was one time where Prince came into our camp and asked where the captain of the camp was. Hint, it wasn't one of us. She was like, I'm the captain. She literally did, I'm the captain now.
I am the captain.
And with those words, she completely derailed the DM, but he rolled with it, and he made it he made it his own thing, and took back his agency that way. But she had the agency to be able to do that, and it made it such a fun experience for all of us because we didn't know what was going to happen. But you have to allow that to happen, and you have to have fun with it too. So listen to Elaine.
Yeah.
That is a huge point.
That is something I need to focus on a little bit more. I feel like I keep treating it a little bit too much like a job.
And then it's going to be a lot of work, but it shouldn't be a job. It shouldn't be a chore.
Mm-hmm.
Priscilla, you're a more experienced DM too. Do you have any
I mean, I've
about table interaction? Yeah.
As far as combat goes, there can definitely be times where people are hemming and hawing over what to do, and I get kind of impatient with that. So I find it helps to basically ask people to think about what they're going to be doing. And granted, sometimes that can change depending on how the combat goes by the next time your turn comes up. Maybe someone killed that thing you're gonna do, but like spending your in-between time while you're waiting, thinking about what you're going to do next helps a lot. And sometimes I have not always done this, but I've seen some recommendations sometimes where it's like you have a certain amount of time to get your shit done, and then if you don't, then you're basically just taking the dodge action and not really doing anything otherwise. So it like you put it better on. Yeah. I think this time I played with very small groups, so I don't really have to do that. Like 3 to 4 I find is my ideal. But if you have a larger group and you have a lot of people who are taking turns, or like a lot of minions, then I find that helps.
Yeah, I think Matt Mercer does impose it's not a hard and fast time limit, but if somebody is dallying too much, and obviously they have to do it by necessity because they have 3 hours. Mm-hmm. But if somebody is taking too long, he has 5 seconds to decide what you're gonna do, or you have you need to hurry it up. Like he kind of gently urges them to really think about their turn. And also what I noticed that he does is that he tells the next person who's up that they're on deck, so that they know to be ready once the turn goes to them. Because I've been in way too many combats that have taken too long because the player is just spending a half an hour trying to figure out what they're doing on their turn, and it's not fun because that was one campaign that I had dropped because it was the entire campaign. It lasted about 5 hours a session, and I wasn't able to say I said maybe 2 lines during the whole thing, and most of the time I was just sitting there. That's not a fun experience for anybody. Right, so as a DM, you also have to kind of speed things up and control it, but also make sure that your players are everybody has equal screen time. Screen time is what I say. So if you see a player that's not doing anything or unable to contribute at all, it's not going to be fun for them, and try to it's your job as a DM to try to notice that and get them involved somehow.
Yeah, get them more involved. Yeah,
combat is one way to do it.
Yeah, I try to get
player agent.
I'm sorry go ahead.
I was gonna say, I do find on the player agency side that it's also, it helps a lot to just kind of roll with what people want to do instead of just shouting, basically doing the improv yes and this happens. Mm-hmm. But also, if something is a bad idea or is going to lead to particularly mechanical consequences later on, to sort of give them a chance to figure that out. Like in your peanut butter jelly sandwich example, maybe that guy might have been less pissed if he had a chance to do a roll to see, this goblin sandwiches look really dodgy. Or maybe he crapped his pants, but didn't have poisoned necessarily as a condition. So then it was just a funny, roleplay element instead of a
I think
mechanical consequence.
Yeah.
Maybe I should
Because
have
like
done.
if
Yeah,
you
that's not
yeah
a
if
bad
you got a
idea.
chance to like roll perception on it, and if you rolled low, then you could have easily missed. Like his player would have missed that, like there's like mold on the sandwich or whatever. But
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
went high, you might have seen it and avoided that
And
situation.
like, it's certainly not a world-ending mistake. That certainly
Right.
knows everyone makes mistakes.
I mean, I purposely
And,
with that specific character early
Mhm.
on in the campaign, and I did it with both campaigns. And early on in the campaign, they had chopped off the arm of this goblin in an encounter, and I had the goblin get away because I wanted to bring him back into town. And he was a
Yeah.
one-armed goblin, and I thought they would recognize, hey, this is the same dude we almost killed X
Oh, wow.
amount of time ago,
Mm.
and none of them noticed. And I was just like, okay, you know. But I wasn't gonna be
Yeah,
like,
it's
he's only got one arm. It's very specific. But then I
I
thought I was
also
being
find it
clever.
Elaine?
I find it depending on your players to figure something out. Don't.
Yeah,
Never
that's
do.
absolutely true.
You have to tell them.
Too much,
I
right?
do-
give 'em too-
I do feel like that's a really good way of training newbies, though, to roll.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm an incredibly paranoid Dungeons and Dragons player. Like my DM put us through, put the Shrine of Tomoto-chan right in the middle of Chult. So we played a challenge dungeon in the middle of the Tomb of Annihilation.
Oh wow, okay.
Like, everything tries to kill you in a challenge dungeon, and so
I've never done a challenge dungeon. I have no idea what that is.
Is it that hard? I was
No.
looking at it. I was thinking about dropping it in Schultz too, but no,
yeah.
Is that
Well,
just like a dungeon crawl with a
if you-
treasure at the end?
What?
What?
What is a challenge dungeon? I don't know.
Well, ours had a vampire at the end that basically killed us.
Oh.
Nice.
So-
Oh wow, that's
Um,
cool.
Yeah, well, with the way that we ended up on Chult at all was because we ended up under a soft Gaius, basically, or Geas. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've been watching Battlestar, so it's Gaius
Yeah.
now.
I'm gonna
um,
have that spell soon.
Oh, nope. 30 days of control. But from Umberly. And what she did is she gave us all these like lanterns that held our souls. So if we died, we had one chance
Mm.
to not fully die
Mhm.
in the Tomb of Annihilation, since it's a long-term campaign. And then
Funny
when we
that-
finished it, our DM sent us the lanterns.
That's
Oh,
so
that's
cool.
cool.
It was so cool. He
Little
sent us
lanterns.
our soul lanterns.
Ooh,
Like-
dope. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Isn't that really cool? But Priscilla, you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just saying that I find it funny that we've all done Tomb of Annihilation, except for Helen.
I don't know what Tomb of Annihilation is either. I guess I'm so behind.
It's one of the official adventure campaigns that WotC has released.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
gonna write that down.
it's basically dealing with the death curse, and if you die permanently. So it has like higher stakes, but the actual campaign contents are so silly to kind of offset that a little bit. At least I think so.
Dinosaurs!
Yeah,
Dinosaurs!
there's There's dinosaurs in it. It's great.
Oh, that's great.
Also,
And
as far as
setting,
cool,
yeah, the setting is kind of African in nature, so
Okay.
hence why Pris's characters could go from Egypt to Chult, because it would be like going into Africa basically, or like the Middle East, I guess. It's
I'll have to
got
look-
a little bit of elements of both of that. So
Okay.
it's pretty cool. I really like it, and we're like in the jungle of Chult, and then you're like doing political stuff. It's a fun balance of the two of those things. So I really like Tomb of Annihilation.
I'll definitely look it up. I've been looking for like all like the side adventure, side quests to
Mhm.
bring
there's a
these
lot
guys
of
into it.
cool supplementary material out for Tomb of Annihilation as well, because it's one of the older adventures.
Okay.
Tons of people have written different things for it.
Yeah.
There was one that was a very cool, like day by day jungle trek thing that just gave you suggestions of encounters that you could do, and like, weaving
all-
in stuff from later in the storyline and all that.
And all this could work within 5e.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's all written for.
We're
Oh,
we're
okay.
playing 5e.
Got it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the
Just-
Shrine is 3E based, but I think there was a conversion of it.
It was re-released in Yawning Portal, Tales of the Yawning
Oh,
Portal.
okay, that makes sense. Okay, yeah.
Got it. Okay. Cool. So I got a lot to learn.
Also, as far as cool props, I love that your DM did that. But this
But what
is
did you-
actually just something that my fiance's work just sent him for like their Christmas gift. It's such like a cool puzzle locking
Oh,
thing.
amazing!
Oh, neat.
And then when you get the right code, then you can pull it apart, and there's like a little
That's
tube on
so
the inside.
cool. Wow.
But yeah,
What's the
there's a lot of
prize?
cool things like that.
Do y'all have other cool props that you play with your campaigns?
Not
Like
really.
actually involved in your campaigns?
It's not so much a prop as like I have a GM hood that I use when I'm GMing, which is actually this thing.
Yeah.
It's just
Oh
like
my
a
God,
Ren Fair
I'm so
wizard hood.
Oh my God, I
That's
want to
cool.
see it.
Oh,
Look, fun.
This is amazing.
basically. Like, oh.
Nice.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I've only ever
And
had
then, yeah.
one DM dress up for a campaign, and it was for a Lovecraft campaign.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Priscilla's hood
I think
reminds
it-
me of, you know what, this is, it's not D&D, but I remember it was my friend, he lives in California, he's like, do you guys want to try a Lovecraft campaign? I was like, that sounds interesting, let's try it. And we show up at his house, he had covered all his windows with, it's California, so it's super sunny during the day, black tarp all over all the windows, super dark inside the room. He had one soundtrack playing, like that eerie Halloween, like wind blowing, creaking house sounds, and the other one playing like, animal sounds, like they're foraging around you. And then he set up a table in this corner of his house that just candles around it. And it was one friend of mine, my friend Kurt, myself, and my friend Jeremy was the DM. And he sat across from us with like the hood on and everything, just running this campaign. We were like in this Lovecraftian horror house. It was super scary because like at one point he started like banging on the table, and I was just like, you gotta stop doing that, man, because you're making my heart race, like, because I had to go to the bathroom at one point. I was like, if you've got a friend
Amazing.
waiting in the hallway to scare me, I'm gonna straight punch him in the face. So
Oh,
tell me right now if there's somebody waiting in the hallway to scare me, because and he was like, no, man, there's nobody else in the condo other than us. I'm like, I'm being dead serious, dude, because he had gone so extra. I was like, I expected something to be waiting for me in the bathroom too, like, why not, right? And I remember it was one of the first times I like abandoned, like, so we go through a whole thing of crap happening in this house, and I remember I was just straight wanted to run out of this house because it was so scary. I'm like, I just want to drive home into town and call it a night, I'm done. And my friend Kurt decides to stop and kick open the door to this basement, and he falls into the basement, and then these undead rise up to get him. And my friend Jeremy's like, are you gonna save him? I'm like, no. How far from the front door am I? He's like, you're like 10 feet from the front door. I'm like, I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to go out the front door and leave. And they were like, you're going to leave Kurt in the basement? I'm like, yes. I'm like, this is a horror scenario, and we're both going to die if I stop to help him. And I remember looking at my friend saying, and he was like, that's so not cool, man. You just left me to die. I'm like, I'm going to tell you this. If this ever happened in real life, I'm going to do the same thing to you. Because I told you, I was like, I literally told you, don't kick open that basement door. It's a basement door, and we're in a horror house. Like, you were gonna die the second you open that door. I'm sorry.
Wait,
but
let me ask you. Was your character yourself, or were you playing a character?
We were, like, what year? I don't remember what year Lovecraft's stories are based in, like 1920s, I think. We were, like, detectives, or, like, he was a reporter, and I was, Gumshoe, like a reporter type character. I was just playing, like, I was me, but I was a reporter, I guess.
Oh, okay, so you're kind of
Oh,
playing
okay.
yourself.
Yeah,
as
I was a detective, and he was the reporter. I remember. Yeah, so I was Alan, the detective, investigating missing people in this haunted house. And for some reason, the reporter was the one that brought the story to me. So we went to investigate. Except the house was literally a haunted house. It was like we fought off like a vampire. We fought off like fucking tentacles coming out of the floor, and he got us to the top of the house before everything went crazy. So you had to make your way back down.
Mm-hmm.
And my motorcycle was just parked out front. So as soon as I got outside, I just took off. And then he was like, he literally ended it. I remember he's like, Alan rode back into town, went and had a drink and a steak, and went to sleep. Like, while Kurt got mauled to death by zombies. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. If I stopped to help you, we both would have died in that house. But I just remember that experience because I was like, no one has really recreated that level. And I wish a Dungeons and Dragons campaign would happen that way. Like, that's what I love about watching, like, Critical Roles. Like, Elaine, you, me, and Tyler went and saw it live when they had, like, the whole stage,
Oh,
and
so cool.
they all came out in costumes, and they had, like, this cool, like, setup behind them. I was like, this is fun, man. Like, you can't do
There's
this.
a-
I mean, I could.
Like a LARPing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I
Like,
mean, there's
go ahead, Elaine. I'm sorry.
oh no, it's okay. I was just going to say, I feel like you're hitting on all the points of how important immersion is. It's a little bit more difficult, especially right now during the COVID times, to really invest in that level of immersion. Like, this is maybe the second time, pardon me, I've put on makeup in like 5 months, but but that was one of the tools that I would try to use initially in order to get into the game, because I've only played in one campaign that was actually face to face, like around the table, immersive.
Mm-hmm.
But there are an enormous amount of tools in order to kind of set the mood. But because they all might have like little technical difficulties, like depending on how loud the background volume is, and someone doesn't know how to fix it, or
Yeah.
figuring out how to actually give everyone time to talk without speaking over each other is kind of a developed skill that happens over time of playing, but can ruin the immersion because playing around the table you can interact one by
Yes.
one with each other, and so
Yeah, I definitely miss sitting around the table and playing because I like being like when I could like hand a note to somebody to be like, here's this thing we're gonna do. You know, like as a player, you couldn't be like, yo, cast this spell. You know, like you'd be like, here's this thing I want you to do. Like it was fun. And now, I mean, when we play on video calls, I usually type a private message to a friend, and I'll be like, like one guy in the group is a rogue, and he's always like the one who opens the treasure and stuff, and I type it to him sometimes. I'll be like, this is what you found, because I want him to make a decision. Are you going to share all this with the rest of the group, or are you going to pocket some of it? Because you're a thief.
That's an interesting point to bring up. How do you guys all feel about metagaming stuff, like sharing information out of character versus in character? Like the whole, like finding treasure. If someone specific finds a treasure, does everybody just know about it?
So this one
assume
group I
people
play with is
knowledge.
very much open about sharing what they find because they don't want to deal with that. 'Cause I guess it can get complex.
Elaine?
If I know something, but my character hasn't directly heard it from another character, she doesn't know about it.
There are some things that we will share. We'll go into a different Discord channel if we have something to say to the DM specifically, or if the DM has something to tell us. Usually, if we find a letter or some secret message that's only meant for our eyes, our player character will have a direct message that has the contents of it, and we can choose whether or not to share it. There was some art that I drew of my character in my Tomb of Annihilation campaign is a card caster, which basically means that I play with tarot cards.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
there was a new one that I got for my backstory that the DM made up, and so I drew it, but I didn't share that drawing with anybody unless I've shown it to them directly in game. So I really like it because it does feel much more immersive when a player is not clued into every single thing that's happening that is specifically very personal for that specific character. So I do like kind of like keeping everything very in game. But there are some things that we all know together, but our players in the game doesn't know. And we're actually pretty good about playing our character as if we don't know that information that we know in our head. I think that's a much better way to play it because the metagaming thing, it kind of takes you out of it a little bit.
I feel like it's an easy way to mess things up too if you like if you forget, and you're like, and that's happened, where I'm just like, oh crap, you're not supposed to know that yet. Well, now you know, like just pretend like I didn't say that part out loud, like it's really hard for a player.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of props, I do have.
Oh, that's cool.
Do you have your tarot? Oh, it's beautiful.
I like this idea of like, I don't deviate too far when I create my like I've tried to like, so in one campaign my friend is running, I created a halfling. I think he's a halfling fighter, which I've never done. But then I gave him a giant warhammer, not a little like halfling warhammer. Like it's big, and then he was cool. He gave me a I wanted to do like I read a lot of Icewind Dale and R.A. Salvatore, and there's a character in there who's got a warhammer. He throws it and it rematerializes into his hand. And I was like, can I get that ability? Does that exist? And I forgot what it's called, but he gave it to me. And so this DM's really fun. I had so much crap. He's like, I'm just going to give you a bag of holding. They're super expensive.
Nice.
And I'm like, I can't afford it. And he's like, I'm just going to gift it to you and put all your stuff in there. And I was like, oh, fun. But like you were saying, you have the tarot card throwing character, and I was like, I've never thought about um creating something different like that. The closest I've come is I try to make Matt Mercer's witch hunter character,
Oh yeah.
because not because the movie, even though that movie's fucking amazing to me. I wanted to make something different, and it seemed like a cool character to play. But I'm trying to. I guess what I'm trying to say is I want to make something more like so. Like the character that had the sorcerer inside, and this is probably the most complex character I've tried to play, because he was unpredictable. At any moment, the DM could trigger me, and then this dead sorcerer comes out of me, and he was a huge demon. Then I went from being this really nice guy to this really mean guy.
Mhm.
So that was kind of.
Yet?
Yeah,
What's
the
that? Yeah.
Cardcaster, the Cardcastle is like I think a homebrew module, but it's a module that existed that I
Sure.
saw and was able to grab onto. So that's like how you cast spells is through your tarot cards. What I decided to do was make because it's me. I decided to make that character a magical girl. So she would basically cast like each card she would cast, she would step through it like it would be like cast it, makes a big frame, she steps through the frame and she transforms her outfit and a little
Nice.
bit of her personality like just slightly changes with each card that she
Is
casts
her
to
name
take on
Sakura?
her personality. So it's just been fun for me because I get to draw my like Elaine has seen her before. I get to draw this character in different outfits because I love to do something
Ah,
like
that's so
that.
fun. Yeah.
But also the other player characters react to it in a certain way too, and they just think it's fun for everybody to just like
Yeah.
they always look forward to when I'm going to cast the card. Like I have a new description, they're like, oh god, what's it going to be? So it's just like a little fun thing that
That
just
sounds.
suited me that the DM let me do, and I appreciate him for doing that. So he actually he's my best friend, so he bought me this deck of cards,
Oh, that's so
and
cool.
now I get to play them like draw the card on video, and you can see what I'm playing as I'm casting it. It's pretty cool.
Is her name Sakura?
No,
Yeah.
no, she's a drow actually.
Ooh, I love
Yeah.
drows. I just don't play them well.
Do you hear this in the background? Do you hear that?
Yeah, I hear them running around.
My cat, ladies and gentlemen.
Good kitty. Well, I do want to say like you can play things poorly, but like it doesn't mean you're playing them wrong.
Sure.
There's a huge multitude of people, and we're all different personalities and different types. So I mean, drows don't just have to be stoic rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I used to do back in the day, right? I would be like, I'm gonna be a drow ranger with 2 swords, and then, you had to,
And
like,
maybe my name's like
Like that.
yeah, because in your head you're like, I know this character, so I'm gonna play this specific character.
Yeah.
I created an Artem Centrari character at one point. I was like, I'm gonna be an assassin. I've got a vampiric dagger. This is great. But then you had to like, nowadays when someone's like, hey, make a new character, I'm like, how different can I? And like you were saying with the homebrews, Lauren, like I've been looking at a lot of them. I think one of the problems I have also is I'm so used to not Roll20, D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
Like I have trouble with the homebrews. Like sometimes you got to build it into D&D Beyond, But I had a friend who was like, "Man, just play it with the paper, and stop trying to just rely on D&D Beyond for specific things like keeping track of your health and stuff, but play the rest of the character on paper so you can play that character without relying on this app that probably doesn't like the Matt Mercer's witch hunter does not exist in D&D Beyond, but what you have to do is create a
It does.
blood hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does?
and then you have to modify the blood hunter for Matt Mercer's character, I guess, or something,
Okay.
which is something I had to learn.
I mean, they have the crit roll stuff on there.
Do they?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
have the
they did
I have the
too.
master DM. I gotta look later. I guess maybe I'm clearly doing something.
It's one of the toggles in the home button when you first create a character. You have like
Oh,
the
shit.
include this content. You have to
I
include.
know
crit
exactly
roll
what you're
content.
talking about. By the
Yeah.
way, I learned these
Wild.
things on the fly. Like I just learned that I haven't logged into Streamlabs until the last session, so it's a whole
We're here
world
now.
that's opened up to me. Yeah. So we're getting close to the hour mark. What I've been trying to do at the end of the shows is kind of get people to talk about something new or awesome that they discovered about the topic we're talking about. Like in my case, I was going to talk about I found these books. Well, one of my cousins wanted to learn, and he's young, so I found these they're like young adult DM starter guides.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a
no way,
whole
that's so
series
cool.
of
good.
these, right? I got them
Cute.
all actually. The guy,
Aw.
the author,
I love
is
these.
is really cool. But if you're trying to look and learn about just different character types. Here's monsters and creatures, and then here's warriors and weapons. And it's got like, it's basically got everything you want to know, but in a quick, easy description. So if you're trying to make a rogue or something, you're like, if you look in a player's handbook, it's so complex. You're like, I don't really know if I want to be a rogue. But if you look in here, it's like one paragraph of information. You're like, rogue sounds cool, you know. And these books are cheap, man. They're like, yeah, they're about $12 each. I highly recommend people pick them up, even if you're an adult just learning.
Mhm.
That's my 2 cents. If I can get it
I
back.
don't know if I found anything new, but I did guest star recently on a podcast with Priscilla called Magical
yeah.
Marker.
I was
And
gonna mention it later.
yeah,
What was it
that's
called?
like the newest thing I've discovered about D&D. I've just been working through all of Critical Role Campaign 2, but that's not new at all. Everybody knows about that.
I'm behind on that. What's the show you guys were just on?
Magical Marker.
Magical Marker.
It's D&D, where you also everyone plays teens, so it's kind of like a Stranger Things, Kids on Bikes sort of vibe.
That's cool.
So it's a bunch of kids who are stranded in the world without their mentors, and we're all artists, so we all draw what we're doing on the screen while we're doing it using Aggie.io, which is also apparently Magma.
Yeah.
That was released during
Lightbox?
Lightbox.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a lot of fun because I mean I'm so at the doodling side, but everyone else is cartoonists and comic artists, so they're really good at doing the really quick, cute stuff on the fly. And Lauren is amazing at that too because she joined as a guest character for 3 episodes
Aw.
as a Tabaxi artificer, right? Yeah.
Yeah, artificer named Stinging Nettle.
That's a cool name.
It's really cute.
Yeah,
It's
Thorn
a
Whip.
really fun journey, y'all.
Isn't that always stressful when you play like you don't know Jack or Pictionary or something, and people are like, "This guy's the artist. They should be able to just willy nilly draw everything," and you're like,
It is really hard to
"Mm."
draw on the fly sometimes, but I tried. I was like, I need to just like draw something on here.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun actually drawing on the board while playing. So I really like the setup a lot. It was a really unique idea.
That sounds like
So
a
we
cool
play
thing.
Tuesdays at 8 p.m. EST.
Yep.
So 7 CST, 765.
Yeah,
I'm
and
with
5.
that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Is that on your Twitch channel?
Not on, well, it hosts on mine at that time, but it's twitch.tv/magical marker stream.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. That sounds fun. I
I'll
like
put it-
I like trying to break away from the norm to try something different.
I'll put the link into the chat as well.
Yeah. What about you, Elaine?
And something new.
It doesn't have to
I
be. It doesn't have to be related to the topic. Like I used to do this thing where people would just show something new they discover, like a book, a movie,
okay.
a game.
I was just
whatever.
gonna say I just really love Dungeons and Dragons. I don't and the like deep connections that it makes, but also it's
Mhm.
wildly time consuming,
Yes.
in a really wonderful way.
Yeah.
uh,
right.
That a short session is 3 hours.
Yeah.
yeah,
That
that's
is a short session.
Yeah.
And those sessions usually go
Always
by
fast.
pretty fast. Before you even know it, you're like, oh, 3 hours has gone by.
Yeah, I don't know how they get so much done within 3 hours, but I was like, we spend like 3 hours trying to plan out how we're gonna raid a dungeon. So.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to drop a dungeon into my story somewhere and let them fight a vampire at the end now. Oh, by the way, you guys all died, but here's some soul lamps. Hope you come back. That's
There's
it.
a really great module that I found. I think it's a Kobold Press one that basically you're entering a dungeon and you get trapped inside and there's limited air in each
Oh.
wing. So you have like that time pressure of you only have so much air before it runs out and then you gotta,
It's like
find
an
the end of
escape
it.
room.
Yeah, basically.
I love that.
It's apparently very, very stressful for my players, but it was fun watching them go through it.
That's
I do
so
love that
cool.
like little bit of stress because then you
Yeah.
make mistakes. I like making mistakes. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
like
mean,
a little bit of.
I have players that are very
Fun.
like try to be very by the book and try not to like, like I remember like I don't reveal too much if I don't want to, and they were like, but I cast this spell. I'm like, it didn't work. Like, go with it, man. I got an idea for you. Just go with it.
They're
Yeah.
never gonna go with it. You
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
Yeah.
do.
I think it's the taking away of things that they expect to work necessarily, unless
Sure.
I guess
I
I
didn't-
think
I didn't
it's
completely
probably
take
again
it
the
away.
whole like advertising thing to some extent. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because sometimes some players are really good about just rolling with punches. And like,
Yeah.
oh, why didn't this work? Blah blah blah. And others are like, no, my toys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why did this amazing sword I
Yeah.
have do what it's supposed to do? And I was like,
Admittedly, I tend to fall on the latter side.
I mean, I usually tell them why something didn't do what it's supposed to do, but it's like I got to get
Mhm.
him to the next step to get him to that
Yeah.
step. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't want to reveal it yet. You just have to. I keep saying that to him, like, just trust me. I'm trying to give you a fun adventure. You have to trust me as your DM. That and I say it over and over to them. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm trying to make sure you have a good time. Just
Mhm.
you know, and they've become more and more trusting, and you know,
Slowly learning.
I mean,
Mhm.
I have to. I also, you
Fair
know,
enough.
I guess I need to be a little more lax about it too. I'm being too strict sometimes, and I feel like I'm being
Well,
rude.
You learn. I mean,
Yeah.
you're still like you said earlier, is you're still new. Sorry,
I'm just trying to get out
really
of Lost
past
Minds of
that.
Phandelver, man. We've been in that campaign for so long. I'm like, every time I have to open up that book, I'm like, here we go.
I
Just
will say,
throw a wizard in there, put a circle, and warp him somewhere else.
Oh, you know that work them somewhere else. That's a good idea. That's not
It's
a
like-
bad idea.
is
You
that?
could. You absolutely could.
But there was that one adventure where they had to go kill or find the sorcerer and take his staff and stuff. And I was hoping they would arrest him and bring him back into town. These dudes just trounced him, and I was just
Mhm.
like, "You killed him," you know, like. And then later I
Brian.
was just like, "Jesus Christ, man! I expect you guys to arrest him, but that didn't go according to plan." And that was fun because now I had to sit there and be like, "Now what?"
Yeah.
You know.
I've definitely had so many combat. I think I tend to tune my combats a little too easy because a lot of times my party will just face when I was DMing, they would just face roll encounters, including one that was supposed to be a big boss,
Mhm.
and then they cast hold person on this mage, and the other like the fighter just went up and wailed on it, and it was dead in like 2 rounds.
Oh no.
Paralyzed.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm in
But-
the part of
I don't know for
Phandelver.
them,
I'm in the part of Phandelver with the green dragon, and these dudes are all just like, we're just gonna go fight the green dragon. I'm like, y'all are not strong enough to fight a green dragon. I literally had to break
Oh,
to be like, don't fight the green dragon. You're gonna die. I'm going to have to kill you. You know, like.
Yeah, I think what I have seen when it comes to that, when players are trying to bite off more than they can chew,
I don't
you
know.
show an example of that creature's strength before they're up in that combat, because then they know it's just like, oh, that dragon, crushed a boulder, or like destroyed something that we were trying to destroy earlier and we couldn't do it, and like they just get a hint of like what that power is
That's a
going
good
to be,
idea.
and that's how they know without you having to tell them. It's too strong for them to handle. This is why it's doing a thing, and like they just know, they're like, oh, maybe we can't go up there yet. I mean, if
Yeah.
they want to, that's up to them. They kill the character.
Well, like
but-
one guy looked at their
Away.
one player looked at their levels and was like, we're not strong. He was like, we're not strong enough. But I also know he like looked up the dragon itself to be like, this thing's got crazy hit points, and I'm just like,
Ugh.
stop
Yeah.
reading ahead.
Don't look,
That's
no,
meta.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, stop
Yeah,
reading
Elaine, what
ahead.
did you
You're
say?
ruining it for yourself. I'm sorry, Lane. Go ahead.
No, actually, I saw Priscilla was talking.
Oh.
I said crosstalk. So
Oh, what was I saying? It doesn't matter.
I mean, obviously Priscilla just kills them. You know.
Oh no,
Well,
what I'm saying. Sorry, or I just remembered I was gonna say, or make it easy for them to run away. Like
Yeah.
if it takes down their barbarian in like to half hit points or almost dead in one blow, then just let them be like, run away, run away.
Yeah,
and
I
if they
always
don't-
give them the option of running away.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just want to fight, and I'm like, that's why I was
Yeah.
just like, I know this group. I was like, I know you guys. You're not gonna
Yeah.
just leave, and me not trying to kill you is not going to work because this thing it's a dragon.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
At a certain point, if you've given them enough warnings and they still insist doing it, then like there are consequences of the character dying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
You
if your
guys-
player is playing stupidly, then yeah, they have to, pay.
No, they were smart about it. They're like, let's go do this other thing and we'll come back. And I'm like, that dragon ain't going nowhere. It's part of this quest line. You know, he's still gonna be there
Well,
when you come back.
You can also just avoid the dragon entirely for Phandelver, and like just never go to that town.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to kill that thing. It's just
Yeah.
you got the information you're here for. Move it along. Unless you need points for some reason, you know.
Or-
All right, well, we're over the hour mark. Unless you guys want to keep talking about this, which I don't mind.
I can't keep talking about D&D for a long time.
I
Yeah.
can too.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure.
eventually have to eat
Yeah.
though, but like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I should
I'm
go eat
sure
some. I
you-
should go eat some breakfast at some
To
point.
do. So,
Well,
yeah.
thanks for getting on early. I know all of us stay up really late working, and there isn't enough coffee in our systems yet to
Yeah.
function. Did you say working?
Working.
Yeah, we all like. Yeah, I was definitely not. May or may not have been up until 2 a.m. playing Among Us, but that's another story.
I mean, I may or may not have been up all night playing The Witcher. So
Yeah.
There you go.
I did go to bed relatively early, which for me is like 12:30. So
oh man, what does that feel like?
tiring. And
1
Same
o'clock's early for me. 2 o'clock's averaging right now. So,
Mm.
and then usually up by 7 because you saw my kid earlier.
Yeah.
And Among Us is
I'll do that.
I've
I
been
just
playing
started-
Among Us. I'll have to play with you guys one day.
Yeah.
I speaking of new things, I just started playing Hades like a week ago, and I cannot.
So
stop.
did I.
How
I'm
many
not
rounds have
not
you done
good
so
at
far?
remembering the
Yeah, like
sequence.
40 something. I've gotten
I'm
out like
on-
5
yeah, I think I'm on
times.
like 50,
Holy crap!
50 runs.
I mean, like a lot of these runs were the earlier ones where I couldn't even get to Megara. So
yeah, same.
All right,
Now
you
I'm
guys are a
confused.
lot better than I am at that game.
Are
keep
we?
it-
I don't
Started in
know.
hell. I just
thought-
started in hell mode.
I just
and so I'm
started like a
I
week
did
or two ago.
oh, so I am playing God
Oh.
mode. I will say that. So
Somebody told me if you play in God mode, if you screw up too many times in God mode, the
It's
game
becoming
is
impervious.
programmed to make it easier for you.
every
So-
time you die, you get 2% damage resistance. It starts you off at 20, and then every time you die, it adds
Then
2%.
why am I not playing in God mode or Hell mode or whatever it is? I
Yeah,
must
I
be
saw
playing
that
it the
all
hardest
around.
way possible.
Did it kind of by accident, but I just kept with it, and yeah, I think I've probably beaten it maybe 15 times now. So
Okay.
yeah,
all
so
right.
I'm just like in it's so
Have you gotten to the credits yet?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna
I
end
don't
this
know where
call
that
and then
comes
we
from.
can
Yeah,
talk
anyway,
about Among
we're-
Us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, take it off. All
This is
right.
not
bye.
the end.
Yeah,
Again,
I guess
thanks
so, too.
everybody for joining us. I appreciate you guys jumping in. Maybe I'll have you guys on for another. We can do another D&D talk at some point if you want to. Once I get better.
I could
Yeah.
talk like literally could make a whole show just about D&D.
You know what? I got ideas. All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.